All right.
Thank you.
All right, let me just gonna share my screen. Okay. Perfect. All right, you can see everything.
Yes, I
Cool.
can see that. Yeah.
Thank you. All right. Well, good evening, everybody. I'm happy to be here with you again. My name is Bryce. Let me. I'm the
Please
Senior
go ahead
Associate
and
Director of
I'll let
Admission
the
at.
students in. Yeah. So sorry.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Do the
Cool.
logistic.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Just keep talking. I'll let the students in. Yeah. Thank you.
Got it. Got it. Yeah, and I'm the Senior Associate Director of Admission at Denison, which is a liberal arts and sciences college in Granville, Ohio. And I'm excited to be with you here today. Just introduce the college, take any questions that you might have. We appreciate you joining today. I know it's later in the evening in Vietnam, and appreciate your commitment to learning about the college and the time spent here today. So if you do have questions, definitely let me know at any point. I'm happy to talk about anything that might be helpful as you navigate this search process and are possibly considering Denison. My role at the college, like I said, I'm the Senior Associate Director of Admission. I oversee our international student admission to the college. So I work with all of our students applying from outside the United States. I help with the application, the admission side, but then I also do our financial aid and scholarship side too for international students. So quite a bit of different responsibilities here. But the nice thing is that I am directly involved in all those decisions and can certainly provide good insight into those areas if you are curious about how it's done at Denison. This presentation is really just an information session to introduce you to the college. This is the presentation that we give to students who are visiting campus in person, which if you're ever able to, we certainly hope you're able to. If you're able to travel to the US, Ohio is not far from most major Eastern, Midwestern states and cities in the US, so not hard to get to us. But yeah, this is the session we give before students tour the campus. So it's designed to just be a brief overview. We'll kind of talk about what makes Denison distinct and unique in the landscape of higher education and universities in the United States. And then we'll talk about admission and financial aid towards the end. The message that's there up on the screen that says the best years of your life shouldn't happen at college. Let me clarify that messaging first, and then we'll jump in. So obviously, we hope your years of college are great, and we expect that they will be fantastic years. But the idea behind this message is that at Denison, we don't set you up just to succeed for 4 years. We set you up for success in your entire life. So there's a lot of focus at the college in preparing students for careers and preparing students for graduate programs and preparing students to be just successful human beings in whatever space they find themselves in. So that's the idea behind this message. Just Denison is a place that really obviously builds a really relational, productive learning environment, but is very, very focused on connecting students to careers, international students included. So that's a big part of who we are as an institution. The Denison Advantage are just three themes that we focus on here at Denison that you can expect to see as a student here if you do come to Granville. One is relationships are a big part of what we do at the college. So I think most universities will say that relationships are a big part of the experience, whether it's relationships with your classmates, with your teachers, with staff and coaches, with the community. And while that may be true, at Denison, it is true on a level that most other institutions just can't necessarily compete with. And that's not because of an effort on their part. It's mostly just because of their size, their scope, the type of institution they are. At Denison, we're a smaller institution with class sizes of only about 17 or 18 students. Everyone lives on campus all 4 years. So the depth of relationships you get to build is just much deeper at a place like Denison, where you're living with your classmates the entire program. So you really get to form friendships and deep relationships with your peers. You're meeting with faculty regularly outside of class for one-on-one meetings, for individual support. And the faculty really are invested in your success here because we're an undergraduate teaching college. So all of our faculty have PhDs, but they all teach their courses. So they're all here because of their passion for teaching undergraduates and their ability to connect relationally with students. So that's just a big part, and often something that lasts well beyond your 4 years are those relationships that you develop here. The opportunities are vast, especially for a school of our size. We have tremendous resources, an over $1 billion endowment that we leverage to create some really unique programs and opportunities for students. We'll talk about that as we go through. And then this is what I mentioned earlier. Everything we do at Denison is designed to give students a competitive edge in their careers. So again, a big part of what we do is helping you find opportunities for jobs, for graduate programs, et cetera, throughout your 4 years and well beyond here. And Denison was recently ranked in the top 20 by Princeton Review for both internships and career services. And this is something that we, again, do really well. We'll talk more about that as we go through. This is the basic profile of Denison. So if you're not as familiar with the college, just to give you some basic details. Our campus sits on the top of a hill. We call ourselves the Hill, or the college on a hill. It's a beautiful hilltop location in this very natural setting, a lot of green, very pretty, idyllic type of college town in Granville, and then just a really, really pretty, well maintained campus itself in Granville on the hilltop. So, if you're worried about coming to Ohio, if you're not sure, you've never been here before, or you're not sure what it's like at a small college or in a smaller town, if a student is worried about that, when they come to Denison, I see that doubt melt away very quickly, just because it's an easy place to love. It's a beautiful campus. There's great people. Ohio's a great place. There's a lot going on the campus and then off the campus in Columbus. So that's something I think we're known for, though, is having the beautiful hilltop campus, very charming small town. And there's certainly benefits that we'll talk about in a bit. But like I said, a lot of resources, especially for a school of our size of only 2,300 students. We have over $1 billion endowment. So one of the wealthiest institutions in the United States, in fact, one of the top 50 or 100 or so in the country. And we leverage those resources in a lot of ways. So we'll talk more about that as we go through. The student body, like I mentioned, 2,300 students total. That's completely undergraduate. So everyone who's studying at Denison is seeking a bachelor's degree. They're right out of high school, getting their first degree. So everyone's 18 to 22 years old, living on campus, living away from home for the first time. About 20%, almost 20%, maybe more like 16, 17% of our students come from outside the United States and are international students. So we do have a very global population on our campus, despite our smaller size. We have almost 80 countries represented. Vietnam is our largest country represented on our campus, and it has been that way for the past 3 or 4 years. We probably enroll anywhere from 20 to 40 Vietnamese students in a given year. We have an active Vietnamese student association on the campus, but there are many countries represented in a very sort of globalized campus experience where you do get to meet people from all over and learn from people all over the world and all over the US too. We have all 50 states represented in the US on the campus. Only about 20% of our students come from the state of Ohio, so most of our students come from far away to attend the college. It might not be as far as Vietnam, but many of our students are moving away from home for the first time and living away from home and not able to get home quickly. So I think that adds to the residential experience because students don't go home on a typical weekend. They really share in the full campus experience. And I think everyone shares that experience because you're not alone in being nervous or being away from home for the first time. Everyone that comes to our campus, in theory, as a student, most at least, are in fact living away from home for the first time, going through that same transition, the same struggles, challenges, and so on. Student life is a big part of the experience at Denison. Because we're a residential campus and we're in a smaller town, most of the social life revolves around the campus itself. So through university programming, events, student-run events, and gatherings and events, all kind of revolve around the campus itself. We have a big student event center. Students are able to host parties on campus. They're able to do a lot of different things in the buildings and the facilities, and our students are very active in getting involved in different things. But that is a big part of, I think, what makes Denison great is that sense of shared experience, and then you're getting involved in a lot of different things together. That's a great way to build relationships, to get more experiences outside of academics. And we do a lot. So there's over 160 clubs and organizations, tons of sports teams, music ensembles, and different things you can do throughout your program. We'll talk more about that as we go through. So first, a little bit more about location. I know we talked a bit about our location in Granville and in Ohio. We'll do a little bit of a deeper dive into that. So we look at it as it's kind of a best of both worlds location. Granville's a beautiful small town, and certainly a lot of benefits to living in a place like Granville. It's very safe, it's very welcoming, it's very community oriented. As a parent, it's a great place to send your child because you can be confident that they'll be well taken care of. People know each other. It's very community oriented. And then we are near Columbus, which Columbus may not be the first city you think of when you think of the United States, but it is the 14th largest city in the US. It's the fastest growing city in the Midwest, the second largest city in the Midwest region behind Chicago. So it has a lot going on. There's over 2 million people that live in the metro, a lot of jobs and opportunities. Great people, tons of diversity of people and entertainment and food and shopping and all of that. It's only about 30 minutes from Granville and from the campus. So it's nice that you have access to a big city that has a lot of opportunities if you need it. But your day to day is in a small, really nice, charming, safe college town in Granville. So this is a picture of Granville on the screen here, just to give you a sense of the feel and the vibe of it. This is a picture of Broadway, which is the main street that runs right through the middle of the village, and it's lined with beautiful shops, restaurants, cafes, and so on. This is only about a 10-minute walk from where the campus is. The campus is up on the hill just behind the village. So it's very easy to get into the main part of Granville from the campus. A lot of our students do go in pretty regularly to volunteer, to go to the restaurants, and so on. And Granville's really cool. And there's a lot of events they host throughout the year. So despite the fact that it's a smaller town, there's always farmers markets on the weekends. There's festivals, holiday celebrations throughout the year. My favorite annual tradition in Granville is a Porsche festival, like the car. So a lot of random cool things you can do. If you like the outdoors, there's tons of great trails for hiking, parks, things like that surround the campus. So it's a really natural setting. And a lot of students take advantage of that. We actually have our own bioreserve, our own natural preserve that Denison owns just north of the campus, as well as our own golf club as well, which is really cool if you're a golfer. Yeah, and then like I said, the benefits of Granville are there. They're certainly safe and welcoming, very community-oriented, nice place to live. And it has everything you need. So there's a market, a bank, a pharmacy that you can get to within walking distance of the campus. So all the essentials are right there. And then anything that you need that you can't find in Granville, like I mentioned earlier, you could probably find right down the street in Columbus. A few things I'll say about Columbus that I haven't already said. One, and I actually live in Columbus myself, and I just commute out to the campus each day. So it's only about 30 minutes or so, 35 minutes to get to the downtown from Granville. We do have a center in Columbus. So there's an extension of our career center right in the middle of downtown Columbus, and they do career training and credential and certificate programs. And we're seeing a lot more students decide to stay and live in Columbus after they graduate. I think a lot of this is due to the livability of the city, the cost of living, and then the job opportunities that are there. Obviously, Denison has a lot of connections in this space because we're so close by. Although you're certainly not limited by the Columbus area. A lot of our students graduate and go on to all over the world and all over the US to find opportunities. But certainly it is nice to have a big city nearby. Anything that you need that you can't get in Granville, you can definitely get in Columbus. There's an airport in Columbus. We pick students up from the airport, bring you to the campus. We're only about 20, 25 minutes from the airport. So easy to get around, nice big city nearby, and then that beautiful small town in Granville. So academically, I'll give you an idea of how we teach, what to expect in the classroom. So Denison is a liberal arts curriculum, liberal arts and sciences college. So what you can expect is a type of academic experience that will challenge you academically, that you'll learn a lot about a lot of different things. You'll learn how to be an excellent writer, an excellent reader, communicator, collaborator, and a critical thinker. And that's regardless of what major you choose or which academic focus you're interested in. The classes here are small, so on average, they're about 17 to 18 students total from your first year to your last year. We don't have any classes bigger than 30 students at Denison. Again, mentorship and relationships with your faculty are a key feature of the classroom experience. Over 90% of our students say they find a mentor at the undergrad level. The national average is about 20%, so we obviously are well above that average. And you can expect a very dynamic participatory style class where you're expected to go to class regularly, you're expected to participate, ask questions, engage in discussion. You're expected to work on projects and do long form assignments more so than lectures and exams. You will have some of those in your classes, but you're graded on a lot of different things, not just an exam. You're graded on how you engage with the material. You're graded on how creatively you approach assignments and how well you complete them and things like that, right? So it's very dynamic, multifaceted in terms of the classroom experience, but I think students here love the teaching. We're always ranked very high for undergraduate education because our faculty are very passionate. So they love going to class because the class is engaging, it's fun. You feel like you're missing out, I think, if you don't go to class here. So, and a lot of cool things you can discover academically. This is a list of all the programs that we offer, listed alphabetically. 56 of these are offered as majors. So most of these programs that you see, you can get conferred on your degree as a major. The most popular majors at Denison include economics, data analytics, psychology, biology, global commerce, just to name a few. So you can see it's a mix across sciences, social sciences, right? A little bit of everything. These are all open. So when you apply for admission at Denison, you don't apply for a specific program. You just apply generally to the college. If admitted and you enroll, you can select between any of these programs after you arrive on campus. None of these majors are selective or limited in terms of the number of students they can enroll. A majority of our students take 2 majors, so it's very common to take more than one program. Very easy to do. We support that a lot here. I think the college is very academic. It's very holistic, so that's a natural fit to take multiple subjects. So a lot of our students do. The programs that are highlighted in red are distinctive to Denison in one way or the other. Like we were the first liberal arts college in the US to offer a data analytics major. We're actually building a new data and technology center soon that will be a state-of-the-art new center for our computer science and data analytics programs. Intel is building what will be the world's largest computer chip manufacturing center, just about 15 minutes from our campus. So great opportunities in those spaces here. We just added a new journalism program. We've added new programs in global health. We're one of 30 universities in the country that offers a combined philosophy, politics, and economics program. So we always innovate around what we offer academically. A lot of liberal arts colleges you'll see are very rooted in tradition. And while that is true at Denison, I think we're also just as much breaking that tradition and doing new things and not afraid to change. So I think it's a good balance of some of those traditional programs mixed with some very cutting edge, new, innovative programs at the same time. All right, so we have a few resume slides that we work in here. We're very big on building out your CV, your resume during your 4 years at Denison. So we just want to show you what a typical student experience looks like on paper, what you can expect, during your time here. And a few things in the academic section that I'll point out that are particularly popular for our students is study abroad and research. So over half of our students study abroad when they come to Denison. There's a ton of programs you can get involved with. Obviously, you're studying abroad by coming to America, but a lot of our students do choose to also go elsewhere. There's over 100 programs you can choose from. Research is big here. We're not a research university, but we do have a research center on the campus. About 130 students stay on campus each summer and do summer scholars, which is a paid research program where your housing is paid for by the college and you get a $5,000 stipend to help pay for living expenses. And this is across all disciplines. So this is the arts, humanities, social sciences, equally. And you can start research as early as you want. You don't have to have an original idea or previous research experience. We have a whole research center that can connect you to research programs and opportunities that are happening across the campus. So very easy to get involved in those two things. And those are great add-ons to your academic experience during your 4 years here. So we'll talk a little bit about co-curricular life and how students get involved here at Denison, just to give you an idea of what you can do in your free time and your evenings and weekends, and what a typical Denison student might want to do. So there's a lot you can get involved with. Like I mentioned earlier, over 160 clubs and organizations. The four most popular areas of involvement at Denison, I would say, would be athletics, the arts, leadership, and volunteering and community service. We have over 50 organized sports teams, 27 varsity teams, and over 30% of our students compete in a varsity sport, so that's very popular. We have 25 music ensembles, including a full symphony. We just built a new performing arts center in 2019, so a beautiful brand new space that houses our music, dance, and theater programs. Some of our most well-known alumni come from the arts programs, so those are very well supported and very popular programs, whether academically or just for fun. We have a lot of visiting artists that come to campus to perform. So a lot of different things, movie screenings, art galleries and exhibits. So a lot you can do in that space as well. And then leadership is just a natural part of who we are at Denison. Our students are leaders, and that's a big quality we try to train in people and something we focus on. We have over 600 campus leadership positions. We have leadership training programs, weekend retreats, seminars throughout the year. So that's a big part of it too. And then service, we have a day of service in the spring where most of our students go off campus and get involved in a local service project. A lot of our students are involved in non-governmental organizations and service programs like Teach for America, the Peace Corps. Those are really popular. So a lot of service opportunities and projects you can take advantage of too. All right, I'm going to skip through that involvement slide. Just know that, well, one thing I'll say here, at Denison, most students are involved in at least 2 or 3 different extracurricular areas. If you're not getting involved in co-curricular life at Denison, it's probably going to feel a little boring to you here, I think, maybe a little limiting, because we're not in the middle of a big city. So it is important that if you do come to Denison, that you lean into the campus experience side of being a student, and that you do get involved and you try new things. And like you can see in this student's example, they joined pretty substantially 4 different student clubs and organizations and sustained that involvement through most of their program. And that's what we hope, is that you find some passion areas, you get involved and you stay involved, and you rise to some leadership level in that area over the 4 years that you're here. But there's a little bit of everything. One thing I love about Denison is it's so easy to get involved here. If you want to try a new club, if you want to try an instrument you've never played, you can always just take lessons, ask someone for help. People are very welcoming and very happy to get you involved in things here. So very easy to try new things. Last slide before we get to talking about admission and financial aid. This is just sort of how we create a competitive advantage for our students. So I mentioned at the beginning. So we have 4 different centers on the campus here that work in complementary ways to help prepare students for life after college. The main center is the Knowlton Center. That's our career center. It's on just the center of the campus. It's a really big office. We have 16 full-time career coaches that work for the Career Center that mentor students individually on helping you find career opportunities. So they'll connect you to alumni for job shadowing, for internships. They'll help you with training programs. They'll help you explore professions, and all that. So, and you'll get an advisor that you work with closely who gets to know you individually, and you'll build a relationship with them over 4 years. And they'll really help you build out your resume and help you find opportunities. We invest a lot of money in this space. So we got a $10 million grant a few years ago from the Knowlton Foundation to expand our career services. If you do an unpaid internship here at Denison in the summer, which a lot of our students do, at least one internship during their program, you can apply to receive a stipend or a payment from the college to help cover your living expenses. So Denison is deeply focused on making sure students find career opportunities, international students included. We actually have someone in the Knowlton Center who works specifically with international students studying on an F visa at the college. So helping you find employers that are willing and able to sponsor, and then just helping you navigate the process as an international student specifically, and finding job opportunities, whether that's here in the US or maybe back in your home country or elsewhere. The Denison Edge is our center in downtown Columbus that I mentioned. They offer credential programs and career skills. So sales and marketing training, how to build a pivot table in Excel, how to manage a calendar, things that you might not be learning in the classroom, but are important to learn. Certainly employers look for career skills. So it's designed to help complement a liberal arts style education with a very career-oriented, practical training. And you're able to stack those credentials on top of each other. So a lot of our students earn multiple during their time here. And it's all free and included for Denison students. And most of the programs they offer on the weekends, evenings, so you can fit them into your schedule. The Liska Center is our research center. So if you want to get involved in undergraduate research or anything related to scholarly life here on the campus, we host a lot of guest lecturers. We have a lot of students who apply for postgraduate fellowships like the Fulbright. If you want to apply to graduate school or anything in academics, the Liska Center is sort of the academic hub of the campus. And then last is the Red Frame Lab. By far the most popular career path among our students is business. And the Red Frame Lab is sort of our student-run business center. It's an entrepreneurship and consulting center. It's all student-run. We've launched over 20 student businesses through the Red Frame Lab since it's opened about like 5 or 6 years ago. So if you are interested in business, entrepreneurship, consulting, design thinking, that's what the Red Frame Lab does. So a lot of our students who are interested in those fields will get heavily involved there. We work with actual consulting firms there who come to the campus and work on projects with students through the Red Frame Lab. So kind of like getting an internship experience, an entrepreneurship experience, and just enriching your life and learning more about business right here on the campus. All right, last of the resume slides here. I mentioned internships are a big part of the experience. Most students do those in the summer as a student at Denison. As an international student, you can do those through what's called CPT, Curricular Practical Training. Our International Student Services Office will help you with that. Most of our students do internships, international included, at least once. And because you're not limited by location in the summer, you can go anywhere and do internships. So a lot of students use that as an excuse or an opportunity to go visit other places in the US. And we'll help you apply for those, help you find one. We have a whole internship program that we can plug you into. So it's very easy to do. And then we have hundreds of jobs right here on campus during the academic year as well. And international students are eligible to work up to 20 hours per week during the academic year on campus. And we guarantee job availability if you want it. So there's a lot of great work you could do right here on the campus, earn some extra income, build out your resume as well. All right, last slide here. Just covers some highlights of our admission and funding process. So not meant to be an exhaustive overview, but it'll give you some highlights, some introductory information. So in terms of admission, Denison has done a lot of work to try to make it easy to apply and reduce barriers for students. So we try not to throw unnecessary requirements at you or things that aren't really important in the process. So in terms of the application, we accept a lot of different applications. Most students apply to us through the Common App, which is free to apply. There's never an application fee, no matter how you apply to us. We don't require a Denison-specific supplemental essay, so it's one less essay you have to write. We do offer admission interviews, and I do highly recommend that you complete an interview if you're invited to do so. And I'll talk more about that in a little bit. We don't require the SAT or the ACT, so that's optional. You can see the scores for admitted students on the top of the screen there, just if you're curious about the range of the average scores for admitted students. We do consider the SAT or ACT if you submit it. So we will look at that if it's submitted, but if you don't submit it or you submit scores that are average or below average, there's no harm to the review of your application. We enroll new students in the fall each year. So when you apply for admission to Denison, you can only apply for the fall semester. Everyone starts together as a cohort. There are 3 rounds that you can apply for the fall admission, each admission cycle. 2 early decision rounds and a regular decision round. Early decision is a binding round where you have to sign the ED agreement between you, a parent, and a counselor. So you have to be committed and confident that college is the top choice to apply there in early decision. But we do enroll about half of our class each year through early decision. So if you are serious and really strongly considering Denison, I would encourage you to consider early decision. Because by the time we get to regular decision, we only have about half of our seats left and a much bigger applicant pool. So regular decision is about 15–20% more selective than early decision. Overall, our admission rate for the class of 27 was about 17%. So selective, but not crazy selective. And And like I said, if you apply early decision, that admission rate does go up a little bit. In terms of financial aid, so Denison's fortunate that we meet 100% of every admitted student's demonstrated financial need. So if you're admitted to Denison, it should be affordable for you and your family to attend. We'll offer you grants, most likely, possibly some scholarships to meet your need. But the basic idea, and you could ignore this FAFSA and CSS profile. If you're a U.S. citizen or permanent resident, you'd be required to fill out the FAFSA and the CSS profile to apply for need-based financial aid. If you're not, if you're an international student, you just have to fill out the Denison Certification of Finances, which is a much easier form to complete because all we ask you to do is basically just tell us what you and your family can afford. And we use that information on the Certification of Finances to make sure we're meeting your financial need if admitted. So if you apply for admission to Denison and on that Certification of Finances, you tell us my family can afford $35,000 a year towards tuition, housing, and meals. We guarantee if admitted, you won't contribute any more than that on those costs for the duration of your program. So we'll basically offer you grants to fill the gap in funding to make sure you don't contribute any more than what you tell us you can afford. Yeah, so that's how that works. If you're admitted, you'll get your financial decision at the same time. So you'll see what you qualified for in terms of grants and scholarships. You can make an informed decision there around cost before committing. We don't package students with loans, international students with loans, and we don't require you to work on campus. You can, that's optional, but we don't require it. So everything that we offer in your financial aid package is gift aid, nothing that you have to pay back or work for. So that's a nice added feature there of our process. I think I covered all the information here. Yeah, perfect. Cool. Well, thank you for hanging in there with me. Hopefully that was helpful, informative, and at least mildly entertaining. If you have any questions or anything, I'd be happy to take them. You can use the chat or the Q&A here in the Zoom room.
Question about the interview. Actually, I just guiding the student how to have a good interview, and if you can share a little bit further.
Yeah, thank you for reminding me. I made a note to talk more about that. So yeah, so Denison offers admission interviews. I almost don't like the term interview because it's not meant to be a job interview. I think a lot of students, when they see interview, they get worried or feel like they're not prepared or they don't have a lot of experience doing interviews in a formal setting. It might scare them away, but definitely don't, it's almost like a chat. It is more get to know you session. So the way it works with Denison is because the volume of applications we receive, because we got about 15,000 applications last cycle, we would love to interview every single one of those, but I think realistically we can't. We just don't have the resources and the time to interview everybody. So we don't require it of everybody that applies. But we strongly encourage it for you to complete it because, in our words, most successful applicants complete an interview during the admission process. The way it works is for most students, especially international students, because about half of our applications come from international students. And obviously international students aren't able to visit campus as much as domestic students. So in theory, we prefer students to come to campus and interview in person. Obviously that can't happen especially for international students. So we do them virtually. But you'll notice if you go search for them on our website, you won't be able to find a place to sign up for an interview. And the reason for that is because of volume and just managing our resources and time. Because if we had 7,000 international students applying, everyone reached out to request an interview, we would never be able to accommodate that. So what we do is we reach out to students to request interviews after an initial review of your application, if you need to do a virtual interview. So you could always come to campus and interview if you want. If I'm traveling in Vietnam and I reach out to students by email and say, hey, I'm offering interviews in Hanoi, I'm offering interviews in Ho Chi Minh City on these dates, you can always sign up for one of those if you're available. You don't need an invitation for those, for the campus interviews, for the traveling, if I'm there in person doing interviews. If you don't interview in either of those ways, so if you don't visit campus, you don't interview with me when I'm traveling or another admissions staff when we're traveling there, what would happen is you would submit an application first, and the main application deadlines are November 15th, January 15th. After you submit those applications, we will look at your materials. And then if you're someone that we think might be competitive for admission, we will reach out to you and offer you an interview. So if you get an email from Denison, and this usually happens a little bit later, so in the admission cycle, so November, December, January, February, March are when we do the bulk of our admission interviews. So you submit your materials. If you're someone that might be viable, competitive for admission, we'll reach out to you then to request a virtual interview. And then you'll be able to sign up and pick a time and everything like that that works for you. So that's how it works. So again, don't stress if you don't see interviews on the website. Even if you're not invited for an interview, that's not to say you won't be admitted. And if you are invited, that's not to say you will be admitted. That's not a universal truth in our process, but nonetheless, you get an invitation and then sign up for a virtual interview a little bit later on. So if you get that, definitely take advantage of it, do the interview. You can always reach out to me too if you have questions about that. I'm happy to answer those and guide you through. The way our interviews work though, so that's kind of how it works in terms of signing up and doing an interview. But what you can expect in the actual interview, again, a very informal 20, 30-minute conversation. The idea behind our interviews is we want to get to know the individual behind the application. We want to understand your personality, your qualities, your characteristics as a human being. So it's less just a repeat of what your application looks like. So we're not going to ask you, why are you interested in Denison? We're not going to ask you, tell me about your high school experience. We're not going to ask you, what's your favorite subject? These are sort of predictable interview questions, and they're not bad questions. It's just what we're aiming for in our interview is to go a little bit beyond that, because we already have that information available, right? Or at least in theory, we have your application, we have your credentials, we know what kind of student you are, we have your recommendation letters and all that, right? So hopefully that information already comes through on the review of your application. So instead, what we ask in the interview is questions like, teach me something you think I don't know in a few minutes. Tell me about one of your best friends. Why are they your best friend? How are they different or similar to you? So, and there's no right or wrong answers to these questions. So we're not, shy about sharing them with people because there is no prescribed correct answer, right? It's the answer is true to who you are as an individual. And it's the same 10 questions we ask every applicant. So it's the same interview questions for everybody. And the idea there is that we try to get a universal, consistent way to compare, different applicants and how they answer the questions to each other. But basically all we're looking for there is, are you someone who is open-minded to new experiences, new people, new things? Are you someone who is willing to get involved and be engaged in your community? Are you positive? Are you someone who's going to make a positive addition to a community? Those types of personal qualities and characteristics that we can't get elsewhere that are really important to a place like Denison, where we're very focused in on bringing students in who have those characteristics, right? Are friendly people who want to get engaged and involved, open-minded, curious, are resilient, right? Are able to hear different viewpoints from theirs, and really enjoy that, right? Of learning across differences. So all those things, right, is what we're trying to get in the interview. So our interview at Denison is a bit different, I think, than most college interviews because of that. And I think, honestly, it's a lot of fun because they're questions, again, that are unique, maybe a bit unexpected, nothing you have to prepare for. There's no studying for a test or anything here. It's just come as you are, answer the questions honestly. And again, let those qualities come through in our interview. Be positive, show us that you're someone who's willing to get involved and engaged. You'll do a great job. So we're definitely not expecting perfection there. We're expecting to have a conversation with a 17 or 18-year-old, which, if you've had enough of those, like I've done probably hundreds and hundreds of interviews, honestly, the bar is relatively low. You don't need to be some polished adult who's a perfect public speaker and interviewer. Just show us that you're human, that you have interests, that you have passions, that you're a person that you'd want to sit next to. That's the basic idea there behind our interviews. If you do complete one, we'll do a write-up, we'll include it in your application. It's always a good idea to complete one if you're invited or if you have the opportunity to visit campus or do one in person in Vietnam. So hopefully that's a very long answer, but I think it's important because we've changed our process a little bit this year. So yeah, again, you won't see the ability to sign up for interviews, but if you are invited, I definitely encourage you to take advantage of that.
What's your plan traveling to Vietnam this year?
Yeah.
September?
Yeah, so I'm planning to travel to Vietnam in mid-September. So we're gonna I'm traveling with a big group of liberal arts and sciences colleges. We're going to do a coordinated event together, one in Hanoi and one in Ho Chi Minh City. And I'll share that with you, so you have that information. So if you want to forward it along to your students, if they want to join us, that'd be great. And then, you know, obviously, like I said, I'll have a day where I'm offering interviews as well. So I'll forward that detail to you. So any student want to sign up for an interview or attend our open session, our college fair, we'd love to have you.
If you have questions, you know, students, if you have questions, just feel free to ask. I'm just asking a couple.
Yeah.
I think I discussed with our students about this, but I think AI is getting to become more and more popular. And so in terms of the application as well as the college experience, how does the tools like ChatGPT and things like how it changed the admission process or, you know, the school curriculum or things like on campus? Because I mean, it's just pretty big. It's widespread.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, you know, it's funny. I think before ChatGPT became what it is, right? So readily available and every student had AI at their fingertips. I think we had similar challenges with authenticity with applications. Students would still find ways to borrow essays from other students, right? Whatever. So there's always been challenges of authenticity in what we're looking at in the application. Is this the actual work of the student? Is this their actual voice? Is this representative of what they will be on our campus? So that's always been a challenge for admission offices to try to decipher. I think, and obviously it's made even harder, I think, in the age of ChatGPT. So I think this is a big reason why we're doing the interviews, is a way to create a human connection in this process, and why we're placing more emphasis and importance in those interviews in our process. So I think that's partly a way to hedge against something like ChatGPT, because I think realistically we know that students are using it. I think what we hope is that students are using it not as a way to just do it all for them, but as a way to just enhance what they're doing. I think we want students using ChatGPT, because if you're not using AI, you're going to fall behind just generally in 2024. So I think it's one of those things where we don't shy away from it. We embrace it. It's okay to use ChatGPT. If you need, like, use ChatGPT to think of ideas for your essay. Maybe put your essay in ChatGPT to get it proofed, you know, to have it look over and fix any errors or whatever, like, right? So I think there's ways you can use it to enhance what you're doing in an appropriate way. And there's ways to do it in an inappropriate way. But I think as readers of applications, we've read a lot of these we've read a lot of essays, we've read a lot of statements, a lot of, you know, and I think we get pretty savvy to what is authentic in terms of the content that someone's presenting and what is not. And generally ChatGPT, if you put prompts into ChatGPT or another AI generator, let's say, like, you know, ChatGPT, write an essay on why I'm interested in Denison. It's going to be pretty generic, right? It's not going to be super detailed. It's not going to be unique to you. I mean, obviously the input you give it will depend on the output, but I think most admission readers and offices can do a pretty good job of seeing what's authentic. Is this really the student? Maybe not that it's ChatGPT, but is this actually the student's voice? And again, we're not expecting perfection. I think we want your voice to come through. I think what we're expecting is to see the work, again, of a 17 or 18-year-old. So it's going to contain some mistakes. It's not going to be perfect. It's going to be a little bit raw, maybe, but it's going to be authentic to who you are, your style, what you're looking for. And honestly, that is a good thing, I think, in the context of, you know, trying to read applications and understand authenticity in the ChatGPT age. So I think most colleges are very tuned into it, and really want students to do their own authentic work, and that comes through pretty clearly, I think, on the application. So yeah, so hopefully that answers the question there at least a little bit.
Basically, no. Basically, what you said reinforces what I told a student. By the way, can you help resend a link for our student to register? Because the link that you gave me, I
Oh
think,
yeah.
yeah, was invalid because deadline.
Yeah, let me stop the share and then. Oh, I know it's invalid because the timing. Let me give
Yeah,
me one
because of
second.
the timing. So
Yeah, because I always do that. I always forget to do that in our system. If the time of the event has passed, it expires.
yeah, you can help put in a chat so that the students, several students will be interested in joining in the offline event in the middle of September. We have
Okay.
talk to you. Yeah.
Yeah, just give me 1 second here.
By the way, if you have any questions, everyone, please ask Mr. Benton. Okay, I'm just giving you some pre preliminary questions. I say.
Yeah. Yeah, and any questions are fine, if there's anything that you're wondering about. Okay.
Yeah,
So the link
please
should
start.
work. Let me. Okay, so that should work now.
Okay, Minji, yeah, please go ahead. Yeah.
Hello, Mr. Benton. I'm Truy. I'm a senior at Nguyễn Hữu Huân High School, and well, as you know, the weather in Vietnam is very warm and hot. So I would like to know more about the climate at Granville, Ohio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, it's definitely going to be a change from Vietnam, which is probably not surprising. So we have 4 seasons in Ohio, so we're a little bit northern. So you'll definitely get to experience a little bit of everything. So right now in the summer, it's pretty warm and humid and pretty hot, at least by my standards. Probably average highs of the mid 30s, low 30s Celsius or so. And then the fall is beautiful, very temperate, and beautiful changing colors. But it definitely gets a little bit cooler, and then it goes into the winter. The winter runs from probably December through March here, generally speaking. So you have 3 or 4 months of the year that, definitely the days get shorter, it gets colder, it gets more gray, not as much sunshine. We will get some snow. It'll definitely get below 0 Celsius. So something you need to prepare for. If you've never lived through a winter, we'll help you. We'll help you get a hat, gloves, boots, all that stuff that you would need to stay warm. But we don't get the worst winters here where we're located. So it could be a lot worse. Like you could definitely be in places that get a lot more snowfall or much colder on average. So it's not the worst winter you would experience, but compared to Vietnam, it would definitely be an adjustment. The nice thing about the winter is that we do have a month-long break in the winter from mid-December to mid-January. So if you want to go back home or you want to travel somewhere, you certainly can and kind of break that up a little bit. And then, like I said, the winter goes through March and then April, May, June, kind of a beautiful spring where the weather gets really nice again. In those months, it's usually pretty temperate, 15, 20 degrees, 25 degrees Celsius type of weather. So it ranges, you definitely get a full range. I think the winter is probably the biggest challenge in terms of adjusting weather-wise for most students, especially coming from Vietnam. But usually after the first year, you're pretty well adjusted. I love the winter, actually. I think it's a nice change of pace, a time of reprieve where you can focus more on improving yourself, on being indoors, on your studies, on, whatever. So it is kind of a nice flow with the seasons here. But yeah, you definitely would have a little bit of everything.
Okay, so the next thing I'm curious about is how accessible are professors outside classroom? So if we students need to contact them, is it easy for us to communicate with them?
Yeah, and I think this is an area where Denison, compared to especially comprehensive universities, research universities, and so on, big universities, does really well. So our professors are available at most times. I mean, it's very easy to schedule individual meetings with them. The classes are small, so it's very easy to stay before or after class, talk with them individually, ask questions during class. A lot of them will go out of their way to make sure that you are doing well, supported. They'll reach out to you to check in, to ask how you're doing, ask if you need support. So they're very accessible. They're very relational. They love developing relationships with students and mentoring students through the academic process. So that's why they come to a place like Denison. I think if you're a faculty and you want to teach at Denison or you want to be at Denison, you largely are here because of your passion for undergraduate teaching specifically, as compared to like research or other areas that you find a lot of faculty involved in. A lot of our faculty are still involved in research, but their prime passion and skill, I think, here is for undergraduate teaching and mentorship. So a lot of accessibility, very easy to get help throughout your program.
Oh, okay. So one more thing. This morning I went to the website of your university, and besides the fact that your school has a very robust resume writing program, I also see that the website mentions that your school has a big alumni network of more than 40,000 people. But I really want to know more about how they can assist students in your school to find the career that they want.
Yeah, I think with alumni, I mean, the nice thing about a place like Denison is because it is more of a family and community feel, I think the level of support you receive is really high and people really do help each other because of the close community. And what we lack in terms of size of alumni bases, because obviously we're not some massive university that has like 1 million alumni plus, I think we make up for just the effectiveness of it. But in terms of how we help, so it is very much just connecting you to alumni. Often alumni will offer internships. They'll connect you to potential employers. They'll let you shadow them just to learn about their industry, learn about the profession. So a lot of our alumni do give their time and their expertise back in that way to the college and to current students. So the Knowlton Center, the Career Center here on campus, you just go to them, let them know you want to be connected to an alumni in a specific field or something like that, and they can help you make that connection and get started with that. I think you'll see it takes a lot of shapes and sizes. Sometimes we have alumni come back and give presentations on working in healthcare. Or like when we have one alumni who works at Wendy's, the big fast food restaurant that's very popular here, which is headquartered just about 30 minutes from the campus. She's their marketing executive, and she only hires Denison students for internships there. So there's a lot of different avenues that open through alumni. Just know that your career coach here in the Knowlton Center will help connect you to those. You're not like on your own having to figure it out for yourself. Or reach out by yourself. There should be someone to kind of make that connection for you, make the appropriate introduction. And then from there, it can take a lot of different shapes and sizes, but generally you'll see a lot of students, current, recent alumni, find job opportunities through those alumni connections. So pound for pound, it's very effective. We do a lot of alumni networking events and things like that throughout the world. So like last month in London, we hosted a big event for our alumni to come to as a way to feel connected to the university still and build those relationships. So yeah, so it's very active with alumni. You should be able to connect with them, find opportunities there, and just work with the Knowlton Center on finding those.
And just one last question, Mr. Benton. What do you love the most about Denison? Yeah,
that's a good question. I mean, there's a ton I genuinely love. I mean, I've been there for 8 years, and I don't think I would have stayed there 8 years if the people weren't great, right? The campus wasn't excellent, and they didn't treat me well. So I think the big things they do really well. So I'll try to think of something else that isn't just like an easy answer. I think one thing I love about Denison is like honestly just the beauty of the campus. I think it's underrated. I think there's so many things, but just to focus on that. I feel like every time I go to the campus, it's just like one of the most pretty places you can be because everything is so well maintained. It's just a beautiful hilltop campus, flowers everywhere, beautiful greenery, beautiful buildings. It's just a very inspiring, pretty place to live and to learn. And that niche never ceases to amaze me. And then, beyond that, I just think like the resources we have are incredible. It really makes like an opportunistic environment that's second to none in terms of student access to research, to programs, to get involved, to just the commitment to investing in those things here is way more than a typical university. So those would be a few of my like favorite things that I love about it. But again, I could talk for like an hour, I think, on that alone.
Thank you, Mr. Benton.
Yeah. Thank you for the
Have a nice day.
You too. Let's see. I think there were a few questions that came in the chat. How does Denison encourage student involvement in community service and outreach programs? We do it a lot of ways. So the largest student organization at Denison is DCA, which is the Denison Community Association. They oversee about 16 different service groups across the campus. So that's a great place to start. We have a service center, so it's very easy to go there and let them know you're interested in doing community service, outreach, volunteering programs. There's hundreds of things our students do, and the college, I think, does a good job of investing in that financially, supporting students' endeavors in that. And we also have a day of service in the spring semester, right after the spring semester starts in January, where we allow students to miss class that day and go get involved in a local service project. And then we coordinate transportation and all of that for those types of projects as well. All right. Yeah, so perfect. I think that was all the questions. I think that also brings us to the end of the hour. So that's pretty good timing. Thank you all so much for listening. I hope this was helpful. I'll put my email here in the chat. So if you do want to reach out with any individual questions, please do let me know. I'll share with you the information about our college fairs that we're doing in September, as well as our interviews. So when I schedule,
great. Yeah, I usually often tell my students to organize an interview with the admission officer if they can. It's just a fantastic way for them to improve their confidence as well as their ability to learn more about the school. But but you probably know that many of them are quite shy.
Yeah. And like I said, that's okay. I mean, I think most students I interview, I think, are pretty nervous going into the interview. So that's okay. It's not, again, you don't need to be perfect. I think most are pretty nervous, inexperienced. So if that helps, build confidence at all, and just, know that it's not looking for perfection. Just let your authentic self come through and be confident, and it'll go well.
Oh, I have one last question. That's a student asked me. The student is interested in finance. Really enjoy the presentation that you just gave, but if he wants to pursue finance, is there any opportunity, any chance for him to do that at Denison?
Yeah. So we don't have a major specifically in finance, but we do have a finance concentration within our economics program. So if you do want to, if you're interested in finance, most students here at Denison would major in something like economics, which I will say is a STEM major at Denison. So it does qualify for the STEM OPT extension if you want to stay in the US and work for 3 years on your student visa. And then get the finance concentration within the program, and that would confer on your degree, so it would show on your degree. And honestly, finance is probably one of the most popular career paths for our students, even though we don't have a finance program specifically. Most undergrads in finance don't take a finance major that are working in finance. Most will major maybe something related to business. Some will major something completely different, a social science, a humanities subject. Because so much of getting into careers in business or finance out of your undergrad is around just your ability to solve problems, your potential, your ability to connect with people. They hire on potential. They don't necessarily hire on credentials at that level. So, and we're very well connected in the finance industries, and some of the largest employers of our graduates are places like Deloitte, and Morningstar, and big finance operations, right? Investment companies. So there's ample opportunity to get careers in finance, to network, to get internships, to do that here, even though you won't see a finance major. You won't see a finance major at any liberal arts and sciences college. It's just not a liberal arts program because it is much more career-oriented, much more training oriented, right? Kind of like engineering. Like you won't see a lot of engineering programs because they're more professionalized, and they're not necessarily liberal arts oriented. But yeah, a lot of students will come and take like global commerce or economics, and then that opens up a lot of opportunities in business, not just finance, but certainly finance included.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So much. It's already 9. Sorry for keeping you.
Very good.
Yeah, thank you so much for your information, and looking forward to continue to have more students coming to Denison. The other day,
Yeah,
I met Bảo Minh. I think he's graduated. So
Oh, okay.
yeah. So it's 4 years already. I'm like,
Yeah.
it's going so fast.
Crazy. Well, one time when we do this, maybe we'll try to get one of your former students to present with me and provide that perspective. Because I always think that's really helpful. Obviously, it's good to hear from me, but I'm paid to represent the college. And obviously, I'm going to talk positively about things and give it, I talk accurately, but it's one perspective. I think it's always helpful to have a current student, alumni, or whatever also give their perspective, because I'm confident that they would speak positively about their experience. So it only helps us, certainly. But yeah, so that's a good potential thing for the future. We'll have to keep that in mind.
Thank you so much, and you have a wonderful day.
Yep, you too. You all have a great night. Thank you so much for joining.